If you're delivering it from a you standpoint of what do you want to share and what do you want to say and what do you want to sell, you're missing the key component of what does my audience need. When we are trying to connect with our audiences and we're struggling and we're failing, it's because we haven't taken the time. There's two mechanisms. One,
why you showcase yourself as a brand therapist but not as a brand strategist?
we focus on healing the people within the brand or the business. It also helped me align the target client to say, look, we're going to get deep and we're going to get deep fast. So if you are not into that, if you're not comfortable with that, if that's not what you're signing up for, then this work isn't for you.
With whom you are collaborating, they must have a purpose beyond profit.
I don't like money. And I say to my team all the time, if we could do this work and help people without money involved and just give it away, I would.
You have another philosophy of momentum and share your fear.
Share your fear is something I had to first do with myself. I'm afraid of not being perfect. I'm afraid of being viewed as a fraud and a failure. Afraid of not knowing the answer to this when everybody's looking at me to know the answer because I'm the CEO. There's so many things that we as humans are afraid of. And the more they sit in the dark, the more they control your life.
Some of the brand owners or founders, they fake their own story to gain sympathy.
So I would say highly unethical brands will not last long. Their leadership will be let go. The consumers will notice. And you have to decide
5 common mistakes brands are doing repetitively.
First mistake is brands just putting out digital content. The second mistake is
What's your take on AI into branding strategies?
you're thinking about the fear of AI and not understanding what it can do, and then using it in the wrong way, and then having that backlash. AI should never be given the responsibility of creating the thing or identifying the thing.
Hello and welcome to Unicorn Talks. When we say branding, what comes to your mind? Some flashy products, some flashy advertisements, right? But branding is much beyond that. And today's guest is one of those limited or one of those specific, highly qualified individuals who have been in this industry for more than a decade and understood, also cracked the code where you can stand out different in the market with adding some value. And this is going to be one of the most important podcasts for you, a conversation which will help you out what kind of mistakes you're doing and what are the best possible solutions for you to make the best branding strategy. So if you're interested in this topic, watch this podcast till the end. So Anne, welcome to this podcast and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. And good evening to anyone else on the other side of the world.
Oh, that's great. So before we just start with the main questions or the main conversation, I just want to ask you, what just pulled you in the branding thing when we had so much opportunities in the marketing thing as well? So what makes it different and what pulls you in the branding?
So the difference between branding and marketing is really the approach to the actual tool or process that you're doing. So marketing is really for lead generation and for exposure and for communication. And branding is the foundation, the story, the identity, if you will, of that thing that you are marketing. So without branding, which is more psychological, it's definitely more mental, and it's definitely deeper, in my opinion, in terms of the questions you have to ask. Whereas in marketing, if you don't have the branding done, you have nothing to market.
Okay, so that's a simple and straight definition from Anne. So let's jump into the main questions. What I feel are one of the core things which very few people have cracked. So tell me, how does the branding works actually, and what does actually branding means for any, let's say, medium or small size business?
Branding is a series of questions. It's basically the who, what, where, when, how, why. So if you are a small and medium business, to start with some brand concepts, you would say, who are we? Almost as if you are identifying a character in a
Hmm.
play. Who are we? Who's our business, right? And
Right.
then you frame, some personality, some character traits, and you assign some identifying words to your brand. Okay. And then you say, what are we trying to sell? Right. So, what are we trying to sell? Who are we? Who are we selling this to? And then where do we need to be selling this? And then when? And so, when you're answering those simple foundational questions before you get too deep in the branding process, that is where branding starts. It is the questioning that starts the story, and the story is the brand.
And you have a philosophy, or you have one specific practice of speaking the truth. What is it?
Yeah. So, self reflection, truth seeking.
Okay.
We at Fix and Form believe that humans are what make a brand a brand. A brand is really a relationship. And
Mhm.
so you don't hire just a business entity, you're hiring the people of that business entity. And so we consider ourselves a human centered branding agency for that reason.
Mhm.
So, what we believe in our philosophy is the humans have to be considered in the forefront, whether it's just the founder and their story,
Mhm.
whether it's the leadership team, whether it's the people that make up the team that you as a customer will experience with that brand. Those are the people that should be a part of the story, because the people are what you interact with, what you buy from, who you sell. That's it. It's relationships, and that's the brand experience. So the people are also only as good as the processes behind the organization. So from an operations standpoint, what are
Mhm.
the tools and the processes behind the scenes that empower those people to deliver a really amazing brand experience? So the philosophy with us is it's people, it's human centered. A good brand is going to have really solid people, and they want to highlight those in their marketing.
Okay. So is it like, uh, it is like, what comes to my mind when we speak about truth is that it is not just about buying any specific product or service. It is about getting connected with their story.
Yes, absolutely. And there has to be some truth in the story. You have to
Mhm.
understand the good, the bad, the ugly. We're always so buttoned up and trying to make things look aesthetically beautiful and pleasing. And
Mhm.
the truth is, the brands that act more human, that show flaws, that can admit when they've messed up, or that they engage with people in a really meaningful way that
Mhm.
is truthful. And you can tell those are the brands that people crave, because they want to exist in a human relationship with that brand, because that is a solid brand. It's the relationship. So when we say truth, it's, you know, recalling something when you realize that there was a mistake happily, making it easy for your customers to repair. The truth is really, really the good, the bad, the ugly. And so when you put it out there, it's just the way that you communicate the truth of your business.
Okay. And you see, many brands have tried to deliver or tried to portray their story of the struggle or try to connect, but somehow they mess up with the audience, mess up with the actual market, and they just fall apart and they just get the shutter down. So, what kind of mistakes or challenges do you think these kind of brands or companies eventually keep doing, and they have not yet figured out that this should not be done? Do you have any
Yeah.
specific example on that?
Yeah, I do. And I'm actually experiencing a little bit of this recently myself with identifying target audience correctly. I think that when you are serving content and just distributing everything about you and your brand, if you're delivering it from a you standpoint of what do you want to share and what do you want to say and what do you want to sell, you're missing the key component of what does my audience need from me. And when we are trying to connect with our audiences and we're struggling and we're failing, it's because we haven't taken the time to, there's two mechanisms. One, really think about with the leadership in your business, or you yourself and your own, mind, if it's just a solopreneur business,
Mhm.
who you are serving with your product or service, right? You really have to dig into who this person is, and then really give them a persona and say, when are they going to be checking social media to see my ad? Is it going to be a tired parent that's checking it at 6 a.m. because they wake up and they want to check their phone real quick before they start the day? Or are they going to be checking it at 9 p.m. at night after the kids go to bed and they're tired, but they're trying to receive content, and that's where I can access them?
Hmm.
And it's the second way is by actually connecting with your existing and past customers and clients and asking them questions to figure out how better to connect with them. What is it that really matters to you? What problem are we solving? Are we solving it in an effective manner? Have we missed something for you? And that is really the best way to connect with your audience and resonate with them, is that you are putting out marketing and content and communication for your audience, not just self-serving to promote you.
Okay. So this is the basic thing if you want to become a brand, that once you enter in the market, just get the feedback, work on it, speak to the real customers or the real consumer. And that is how you create an image in their mind. And eventually you are on the right path of becoming a brand, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And you see, in nowadays, we have this concept of influencer marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the social media has allowed so many entrepreneurs to become a brand in themselves, having their own personality as a brand, and their
Yeah.
company having their own brand identity, right? So how does that impacts their own company or their own brand?
That's a great question. So, are you talking about more people as brands now with social media and personal brands, and then they're in their own companies? Yeah. So, that's actually an interesting question that I have an example of recently. So, my husband does stand up comedy on the side, it's just a hobby of his. And he is a VP of product. So, he's been in product management for years. And there's nothing really, we always joke about, there's nothing really fun or funny or sexy about his work. It's very straightforward. He's in tech. It's just, it is what it is. And he posted something on LinkedIn recently that was more from his personal brand with the humor and the comedy. And his marketing team at his company saw it and they said, "This is brilliant. You're actually showing up as a product leader in our company, but you're doing it in your own right with humor, which is almost like your personal brand."
Mhm.
And they said, we could really use this. Next time you have some ideas, let us know. And maybe we could put a spin on it and use some of it for company promotion of making what we do, which is, government security and online security, a little bit funnier and a little bit more human and a little more approachable. And I think that this was a really great example for me to hear this, because being in the branding space, what I said earlier was we focus on human centered branding. And what that means is just that example. You take the humans in your company, you look at the things that they're interested in, and
Mhm.
then you put that to the front. And an example for me, I'm actually in the process of rebranding Fix Inform for next year.
Okay.
And my branding agency is, it's founded by me. I'm going into my 12th year. I'm like, there's got to be some of Anne in this brand. I have a team of, 7 to 9 people next year. And one of the things that I absolutely love is music and dancing. I'm a dancer. And so, I love movement. That's how I process. That's how I work. That's how I get ready for different things. If I'm going to go speak, it's how I process. And so for me, I was thinking with this new rebrand, I want to incorporate music and movement and dancing. And I want to have a photo shoot with my team that's candid, that shows us dancing to loud music in some studio space together as a backdrop, and just show up as human, because the experience we sell is incredible. It's like this elevated, bespoke branding experience for our clients. But we just don't show that on a website where it's these professional button up headshots, that there's no life in that. And this is an example of taking the personal brand and the interests of the founders, of the team members, of the people, and trying to highlight that with movement or video, or using that as content, making a reel to show this is our team, this is who you're going to work with, this is what collaboration can look and feel like. We have a really fun time. Our founder is a dancer and loves music, so let's incorporate some of that into our content. So these are just two examples I feel answer this question so well, to really understand your team's interest in your people and your leadership, and then put some of that in your content and show a little bit more. Because if you think about it, the brand experience with the customer and the client, they're going to find out these things about your people if they engage and interact and have a relationship, if they're going to work with your company, if it's more of that people touch service, if it's a big corporation and they're really just going to buy your product or service without a lot of touch, it'll warm it up a little more on the website or in your marketing, so they feel a little bit more let in, if you will, on who these people are that are delivering their product or service. And it really makes the consumer feel safe.
And I guess we have couple of examples like we have YouTubers, Mr. Beast, right? He's one of the
Yeah.
prime example of pure branding thing. He first showcased him as a content creator. Later, he started his own business, and boom, within not just months, but within days and weeks, he just grabbed the market.
Yeah.
He was one of the highly influential brand in the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a thing for an influencer. And even recently, just before this podcast, I was reading about a brand. It is about women clothing, and the founder is a content creator actually. She started just I guess 11 months ago, and it's already into almost about to make billions. So like she has crossed the million path and about to become $1 billion brand, and it was like just months.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and the audience get connected so easily. They trust you first. They have a trust on you, so they trust your product as well, and that
Yeah.
is how you make the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the answer for influencer marketing. That yes, if you're an influencer, you should utilize it to make great money.
Absolutely.
As we speak about the influencer marketing truth and all, please tell me one thing: why you showcase yourself as a brand therapist but not as a brand strategist? What's the basic difference?
Yeah, this is a great question. I was identifying as a brand strategist for years and doing brand work for, a couple of decades. I always thought brand strategist was just where I sat. It was in the most recent, probably year or two, that I was reflecting on the work I actually did with my clients. And every Fix and Form project starts with some level of brand therapy. And what everybody was calling it was brand strategy or strategy sessions or the kickoff strategy. And it is strategy. But the
Uh-huh.
difference between my service and just a strategy service is there is an element, because we are so human focused, we focus on healing the people within the brand or the business. And because of that, that takes a lot of deeper questioning. And what I have started shifting to with my strategy work is personal questions, especially when I have founders and leadership of smaller brands where the brand is really more of them.
Hmm.
And this can go to the level of, one of my clients started an app for plant sitting, and they had this beautiful story of their wedding, and they took soil from both of their yards, and then they combined it and planted an oak tree where they got married. Because they love plants so much. And I just think that when there is a story that's personal, when there is a why that someone shares with me in the strategy work that really can be used as a foundational kind of seed to evolve their brand story from, it gets really personal, from abuse, drug use, family trauma, revisiting their inner child. They've always wanted to do this, or their product or service is solving a need that's really humanly personal. And I started connecting more on those conversations than I did on just the business strategy side. And I think the difference is because I'm really looking at the whole human, it's like integrating the human in the strategy process and the humans that also make up their team if they have more than them. It became so personal that I just started seeing breakthroughs
Mm.
with my clients on a human level. And there were tears, and I've cried with clients in my strategy sessions. And it got so personal that I thought, this isn't brand strategy and business only, this is brand therapy. And it reminded me of all the talk therapy that I've been through so far in my human journey as a person, not just as a business owner. So it really shifted for me, and I felt like it told more of the story of how deep we're going to get. It also helped me align the target client to say, look, we're going to get deep, and we're going to get deep fast. So if you are not into that, if you're not comfortable with that, if that's not what you're signing up for,
Uh-huh.
then this work isn't for you. And so that really helped us define who I want to work with, but also who would be a great client for Fix and Form.
So this was very clear for you that like having just a brand into your client list and just getting some earning some money from them is not just the thing. You wanted to work with genuine people and not just the people or the brands who are willing to make profits. It is about people. It is not just about profits.
Yeah, I think that we are really a mission focused company because I am a mission focused person. And when I identified as that, I really want to work with brands who want to make an impact and
Uh-huh.
want to actually be a catalyst for someone else, for their clients, their customers. And if that's not at the forefront, if there's no deeper human mission involved in the work that we're doing, then it doesn't fulfill my needs anymore at work. You know, going into your 12th year of running a branding agency, I really had to, after the first decade, I really had to hone in on the burnout. You know, am I still enjoying the work? Am I still enjoying the clients and my team? And what really serves all of us? And knowing my team members so well, we all kind of sit on the same side saying we want to work with people in a genuine way
Mhm.
who are also mission focused, who are trying to help the world, are trying to heal something with people, and not just the business is business, corporate, bottom line revenue. What are we looking at with the numbers? That really doesn't work well with us.
So it is important for you and your philosophy that you the brand which with whom you are collaborating, they must have a purpose beyond profit.
You got it.
Perfect. So purpose is very important to
Yeah.
become a brand.
It's a global thing, right? It is something that if we needed to take this on the road and go international, we could. A brand in any different country of the world, there's so many incredible businesses and business owners out there. There's so much business. And when I realized that this is a global cause, this is a global, we can be united in this, saying we want to help brands anywhere who are mission focused. And I say this all the time. It makes me an awful CEO because I don't like money. And I say to my team all the time, if we could do this work and help people without money involved and just give it away, I would. We have operations costs, we have team costs. This is your time. I have to pay my people. My people are amazing. But at the same time, my husband's always getting on me like, if I could just work for free, I would. But also, we have 3 children and we have a livelihood and we have expenses. And I just hate it because that's how, I guess, negative my relationship is with money. But I just don't, I'm not here for the money. I don't want to rip people off. It took me years to elevate my hourly rate. And people were saying, Anne, you've been in this industry for over a decade.
Yeah.
Your hourly rate should be this. And I had people telling me that left and right. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then finally, I finally raised my rate last year. And
Okay.
it took a lot out of me to do that. But then I did the market value. I'm still on the low end, I feel, for like where, you know, a business strategist and a CEO of a branding agency should be if you were just to consult with me one on one.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with that. So that's kind of my perspective on who we work with and what we deliver is we have to value our experiences with what they're worth and the market rate and my people. But we won't be the branding agency that, oh, I've heard some bad stories. Like what they're delivering. They're like, oh, that was over $100,000. I'm like, what? Like, it's murder out there. And I think that agency gets a really bad rap, because there's so much ambiguity in the pricing structure, in the contracts, in the wheeling and dealing sales process that you get. And our business cards, I'm trying to find one to show you for Fix and Form, are clear. They're plastic and they're see-through. And the reason for that, so when I hand them out at networking events, people are like, oh, this is fantastic. And I said, our card is our calling card because we are transparent. And so transparency is one of the first brand values that we honor, because most agencies, well, many are not. And so that just goes into our human element of genuine conversation and connection, and then also high ethics in terms of our services that we deliver and what we charge.
Wow. So it's all about value and purpose because profit is eventually the byproduct of what you make the efforts for.
Yes.
Wow. And I guess I heard somewhere or I was reading somewhere down the line about the Elon Musk and his approach and his obsession with getting people colonize on Mars. So it is the way he's making money, the way he's one of the richest, probably now the richest person in the world for almost months now. He's not behind the money. It was never about money. He was always into innovations, something which will create an impact. That's why he went for electric cars and later the reusable rockets. Now he want to colonize things and whatnot. So money is not his main concern. It is just his uh, byproduct of his efforts, I guess. So I
Yeah.
guess you are following the same philosophy.
I feel like money should be a byproduct of doing some really good work, right? And there is an exchange for money in our world. It's a marketplace, right? And so when you deliver some product or service, there's an exchange of money. But I feel like, just kind of like they say with social media growth, if you are putting out really solid content for yourself with your audiences in mind, not concerned about growth, that's when you're going to see your account start to blow up, because you're just being organically real. You're showing up with your purpose in mind. It's that mission statement, which is again another brand foundational element. If you don't have your mission at the forefront of what you're actually trying to do, then your content is going to seem pushy and salesy and ego driven. But if your mission of what you're actually trying to solve is at the forefront of everything you're putting out there, the growth is going to be the byproduct of that, just like the money is going to be a result, but you're not focused on that.
You have another philosophy of momentum and share your fear. That's kind of an interesting thing for me. So can you just shed some light on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this year I made a shift,
Mhm.
of not just having some companies and doing the brand strategy thing.
Mhm.
I also started a podcast called Only Founders. And in that platform, found my voice for speaking, was really being called to speak. And so I've been developing more of my thought leadership brand, delivering keynotes, and delivering more of those motivational speeches as well as those corporate business leadership development speeches. And
Mhm.
in that movement and in that work of figuring out what my thought leadership brand was based on, I came up with Share Your Fear because that is the one tool that I feel I really did 5 years ago when I started completely shifting my life. And this is, again, a story of rebirth. It's a story of healing the person and healing the business. I
Oh,
was so stuck. I was so plateaued. I had this marriage and these kids and this business, and I had this life that people on the outside thought,
mhm.
wow, you've done so many amazing things. You're really doing it. And I was so depressed. And when COVID hit, I was in this deep depression of not really showing up in this amazing life that I had created. And I
Okay.
feel like there are so many high achieving adults that are doing the same. And we're not showing up and being present and enjoying all of the things that we have manifested. So, share your fear is something I had to first do with myself. What are those things that I am terrified to say out loud? What are those things that I want, I need, I crave, I desire for myself? People evolve.
Mhm.
We spend our lifetime changing. And when we don't tap into, whether it's therapy, books, executive coaches, friends, our spouses, when we don't tap into asking ourselves the hard questions and being probed to ask ourselves questions as we evolve in life, because we need to get to know ourselves at every new point of change. Share your fear really came from, I had to ask myself the questions that I was afraid to know the answers to because of what might change or what needs to happen in my life to actually listen to me, Anne, and fulfill those things that I was afraid of. So, also, when you share your fear, you share it with yourself, you share it with the people around you. I'm really afraid of not being able to pay my bills next month. I'm really afraid of um, not being happy in this marriage anymore. What does that look like? I'm really afraid of the kind of mom I am right now. And I'm, trickling down these unhealthy family cycles that I haven't even addressed, but I don't want to anymore. I'm really afraid of ending this friendship, but it's not serving me anymore. I don't feel valued by this person, but I don't want to feel the loss. I've had this person as a friend for 25 years. You could go on and on and on with the list of things that you're afraid of, especially executive leadership. I'm afraid of not being perfect. I'm afraid of being viewed as a fraud and a failure by my team. I'm afraid of not knowing the answer to this when everybody's looking at me to know the answer because I'm the CEO. Do you know what I mean? There's so many things that we as humans are afraid of. And the more they sit in the dark, the more they control your life. And so the concept of share your fear in any capacity, work life, home life, personal, you have to start sharing those fears so that you can lead with curiosity and unpack why they even exist. And then when you do that and you talk about them, you actually realize that you're not afraid of them at all. It's just another thing that you need to share to overcome.
Well, that's an interesting approach because this is like sharing your story with the audience whom you are actually considering as your potential customers or end users. And once like as a human, we get emotionally attached with anything, like be it any stone or be it any doll or any specific product. Even we boys, we consider our car and bikes as our humanly thing, right? We consider them as a living thing. And if a brand owner, if a founder is sharing his or her story, their struggles, then people generally gets connected to them, they get involved into their process, and they feel like they are one of them.
Absolutely.
And that is how the momentum and the sharing their fear, sharing their struggles, get their brand a global recognition sometimes, if not
Mm-hmm.
just the local brand.
Yes.
Perfect. So that's the story of your philosophy of sharing your fear. That's very smart, actually, I guess. That's very smart.
Thank you.
Like
It
with
helped me. It's the
yeah.
one thing that really, moved the needle. The last 5 years have been some of the greatest transformation of my life.
Uh-huh.
And it's been the first time that I feel I've known who Anne is and been able to really speak my truth with courage and share all of those things and realize these fears don't need to exist. I can share them and I can have conversations that will be hard, but when you have those conversations, people can choose how they want to show up for you and with you in that journey. And then you can start to really live your life the way you want. Every single day of your life should be lived exactly how you want to. And people ask me all the time, how are you, Anne? I'm like, oh, I'm fantastic. I'm living the hell out of my life. I'm just loving every day. And there are hard days within that. And there's fear every day. You're not getting rid of fear. You are learning how to sit with it and allow it to evolve and be a part of your everyday. And then you're having this tool that's simple of just silence and quiet and addressing what questions or what things you have about things you're afraid to do that day. Even if it's small, I don't want to get into my inbox because I saw last night before I went to bed that it blew up and there was a client issue, or we had a breakdown in our process, or you're afraid of tackling that head on, so you have to sit with that in some quiet and ask, what am I really afraid of? And it usually boils down to, I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of looking like a failure and looking
Right.
stupid.
Hmm.
It's one of the most basic human fears. I am afraid of not being seen and heard today because I don't matter because I'm stupid. I'm afraid of not being seen and heard and loved and accepted by those people around me because
Hmm.
I didn't do this right. It's not, I can't solve this. When in reality,
Uh-huh.
if we share that and get through that, it's such a powerful practice for so many things, large and small, that allows you to move through life with that fear there, not give fear the power, and then move with curiosity of breaking that down. How can we address this fear? How can we address the problem? And then not be afraid of the negative, not be afraid of the problem, and really using more of our strategic and logical part of our brain to overcome that in whatever amount of time it needs. And that's really actually getting out of the perfectionism leadership style, which I have. And I'm often the bottleneck for my companies because I have that perfectionist CEO mindset. And so that's something stemmed early on in childhood for me, of a conditional formatted home where you are high achieving and you perform and you do all these amazing things for what you feel and what you receive as love and affection and attention. And I think a lot of us grew up in homes like that. I think that's universally a human, not flaw, it's a human conflict that many people are trying to overcome at work and at home. And it makes a lot of us the same.
Yeah, that's right. Like we have so many things in common which we face on regular like day-to-day basis, and we just try to just keep it to ourselves, and sometimes it hurts us, right?
Yeah.
So it is better sometimes just pour it out, just share your thoughts, and you might get the best solutions from unknown people.
Yes. Absolutely. It's in that conversation that you will get those answers from even strangers, right? Yeah, it could happen anywhere. Humans were meant to connect, humans were meant to engage and collaborate and talk. And the more we talk, the more we bring some of these things to light.
But you see, I've noticed this, that some of the brand owners or founders utilize this method or this strategy, and they try to create a narrative, or they fake their own story to gain the sympathy.
Oh, interesting.
Like I've noticed some of the brands. I won't be able to name them here, but I've seen this, and somewhere down the line that hits us. Like if one in 100 does this, the other 99 are in the scrutiny. Like, okay, are
Yeah.
they for real or are they just like them? So that creates a conflict of trust. So how the brand owner should deal with this, and how customers or the potential uh, market should see through this lenses and just figure out that this is the genuine thing and this is not.
Yeah, I think that with that behavior, it's going to make itself known that it's not authentic at some point. It's just like truth telling. People are going to make choices, and you're going to be able to monitor their behavior through those. And then your gut will tell you whether it's right or wrong. And I think the intuition of most people as a human function reigns true. And so if those situations are happening with brands, it's probably not going to last long. So I would say that the way that people are showing up, if they are telling the wrong story or something that is fake, just to align with a consumer that they want to be connected to for sales, it's probably going to come out sooner than not. And especially if those people have to engage with anyone. I mean, if you think about it, CEOs and C suite and executive leadership and founders, we all have to talk to people in work. You can't just be siloed in your basement spitting out content left and right. I mean, some brands probably could, but after a while, it would feel inauthentic because they're not showing up, they're not having conversations. So, at some point with an interview or a podcast or in their day to day as they're engaging, it will come out that they're not actually the person that they've said they were for marketing. And I think that there's going to be more backlash over that kind of strategy, if you will. Now, it is a strategy. Even though it's inauthentic, it's a strategy. And there's a lot of brands that tell the story that they want you to know. There's
Yeah.
also a lot of brands that use fear as a tool in marketing. And this was actually one of the first things that I didn't like about marketing in my early career. I have a degree in business marketing as well as acting and directing. I grew up in the theater.
Wow.
The theatrical elements really aid my ability to brand, to identify a persona with a company and then tell that story and put
Okay.
character elements to it. So that actually aids my work quite well. But
Mhm.
in my 20s, I was in more marketing and sales jobs. And when I realized I could sell just about anything, it scared me, because when salespeople are really talented and tell really good stories and use manipulation with that customer to get the sale done, I realized I was very emotionally persuasive. Um, the kind of home I grew up in, I have high empathy. I was always reading the room and always walking on eggshells. So I knew how to use conversation and emotional manipulation to get whatever I needed. And in
Mhm.
my 20s, that scared me. I didn't like marketing in the right that it uses fear of, if you don't use our product, you will be fat. If you don't use our service, you will fail and never make money. And it's the way in which there's ethics, right? There's a whole class. There's classes on marketing ethics,
Right.
and it boils back down to what we started this conversation with: the people, right? So
Yeah.
if you look at the people of the brand, you will very quickly know if you are in right company. And again, we buy from people. So if you meet people who are marketing using fear as a tool and as a strategy, and then what you just said, using
Right.
a fake story to engage with the consumer because that's where they need to sit in the marketplace to be successful for, again, the bottom
Mhm.
line and the price, you will very quickly feel a certain way with those people. You won't buy from those people. So
Yeah.
I would say highly unethical brands will not last long. Their
Hmm.
leadership will be let go. The
Yeah.
consumers will notice. And you have to decide what ethical code, moral code are you operating your business with. And unfortunately, there's going to be some people who get caught up in the initial facade of all of it, and
Yeah.
they will learn their lesson. Especially, all those stories back in the recession in America with
Mhm.
financial planners. My parents were one of the people affected by a really unethical financial planner during that time when the markets were tanking. The
Mhm.
recession was very challenging, 08, 09. And this is just another situation of business owners, financial planners, and advisors not operating in an ethical way, losing people a lot of money, and then they got found out. A lot of them were sued. A lot of them had to pay damages personally. A lot of them went to jail. Um, but they were capitalizing on a time when fear was at its greatest. And you had people who were retiring or getting close to in a recession or trying to provide for families with children, and fear was so high that they used it. And they used it to get them to invest more or take out all of their 401k or whatever. And it's really unfortunate. And there are consequences for that. But also, the consumer marketplace also needs to learn some lessons. And at some point, they'll be found out, you hope.
That's an emotional part of this, like, and that allows me to ask you this, like, what are, like, top 3 or let's say 5 common mistakes which brands are doing repetitively, and very few have figured out that this is not to be done, or else it will damage their brand in the longer run. What's that?
So, first mistake is brands just putting out digital content, product photos, service quotes, what they deliver. There's no people, right? The
Hmm.
content, you can go to the grid, there's no people. It's just stuff, it's noise, it's words, it's
Okay, okay,
pictures.
okay.
There's nothing, there's no human. The
Yeah,
second
got it.
mistake is not doing any brand work. So there's a lot of brands that skip to the creative and skip to the
Uh-huh.
marketing because they need to start making money, and they don't actually do branding work. A lot of my clients are actually businesses that have been in operating for over 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and they come back and say, I never did brand work. I skipped this step. I am step one, right? That has to happen first. And there's a lot of businesses that skip that because they think that it's just more important to get to the marketing, the communication of what it is. But when they actually are successful and bring that consumer
Uh-huh.
back to their website, it doesn't convert. There isn't a story there. There isn't meat. There's nothing to connect to. So it could be a quick sale, but that consumer isn't a consumer for life because there's no brand, there's no story, there's no meat to connect to. So skipping your brand work. Number three, I would say um, probably not delivering your brand values to the team who is connecting with your consumer. So we talk about the brand experience is often not done with the leadership and the executive. It's done with your customer service team, your sales team, your lead appointment booking team, even if it's hired out, even if it's a service, an agency, a VA, whoever you hire, offshore resources. Those are the people that are actually delivering your brand because they're engaging with your customers every day. And so if you have not delivered as the leadership of that brand, what values need to be in those interactions every day with the people on the front lines, you are failing. That is a huge miss in the branding space.
Well, that's a very valid point which you have mentioned. Like this is one of the biggest mistake which I have noticed, that we think about outer problems as an entrepreneur, but when it comes to uh, inner self, we always miss this, that is our team doing well and are they satisfied enough with what they are getting? The words of appreciation sometimes, or sometimes just throwing a party, or allowing them to have a leave with their family, or just making them comfortable while in their working environment, is one of the crucial thing which many entrepreneurs have missed it, and eventually they lose the best team or
Yeah,
the best workforce. So that's a very
absolutely.
valid point which you have mentioned, that one should look after their team, because they are the people who are making the brand, making the process smooth enough, and allowing the public to look into their brand, look into their product and services.
Yeah, and hitting on that point, a
Mm-hmm.
fourth thing would be not paying enough attention to your internal brand as much as your external. And so I often talk about the internal and external branding that a
Okay.
company has. The internal branding is literally operations, HR, it's your team, it's what you just talked about, the culture. Are you checking in with your team members, whether they're contracted, part time, W-2 employees? What does that look like? And the internal brand is very
Mm.
much how people engage and operate with each other within your company. And there's a brand to that. That's culture, that's environment, that's how accessible the leadership is, that's how transparent and truth telling the leadership is. And
Yeah.
that's how your people are engaging. And then the external brand is what all of you as a unit are delivering to your marketplace. So we often think about our external story and how we're going to be shown in the marketplace with our marketing,
Mm-hmm.
but we are not focused on that internal brand experience, which is what you just said. It's the people, and are they happy, and are they getting what they need, and is there a program that isn't working for them? Is there a tool that they don't understand? Do they feel they need more training on the product or service to sell it? What do they need to feel successful? And a really great brand is going to focus on both.
Well, yeah, that's very true. And as we have some new set of challenges rising up, which is helping us become a great brand, or provide better services to our clients and end users. The AI thing, it has already created a chaos, and already start many are discussing about how to implement it, and many are just figuring it out, like whether it is going to help them or not. What's your take on AI into branding strategies? And do you think it is going to create great opportunities for new generation brand strategists or new generation brand therapists like you?
Hmm. I do. I love AI. I think when AI is used appropriately and effectively, it is an amazing tool to assist at work. And so I will say this: AI should never be given the responsibility of creating the thing or identifying the thing. You should never use it to create a brand identity or tell you what your business should be doing. That needs to come from humans. That has to come from the human mind. AI was not built for that. AI was built for studying patterns and learning your behavior and learning things of task management and repetitive programs and processes that you do every day. So if you as a leader understand how to use AI to support you, almost like an executive assistant or a VA, and you can use it to do the admin side of the tasks. An example of this would be you never want AI to be responding to emails to customers and clients on your behalf because it's
Yeah.
not you and it's not actually designed to do that.
Okay.
What it is designed to do is you write an email or you at least prompt enough from your mind of what you want to say in that email that's human. And then you tell the AI in a repetitive task, if you're doing it every week, or just a one off, hey, look for this client in my inbox, go ahead and copy this message in there, and then at 3 p.m. today, send this email. It can do that admin function for you. It should not be creating the thing. For me, I am not afraid of AI taking over jobs because I think when it's being used more and more widely, people are learning and understanding the capability of it and what it should not do. And so when it's being used in an inappropriate way, that's not actually what it was designed for. People are being found out, or it's just not as effective. So I think the more that we use it, I equate the AI boom to the computer, right? So back in the tech age of the start of the computer, people were terrified. It was, what is this? It's going to replace humans. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, it has replaced a lot of human function that we no
Yes.
longer have to do, but it's also opened the world to connect on a more human level. So if you use the thing, the tech, to connect more as a human, because it supports your time management,
Okay.
because you're using it to support your tasks and your admin that takes so long when you have to do it manually, then you can actually have time to show up better. An example of this is I use a lot of AI autopilot or Fathom, all of those kind of AI recordings in all of my meetings and my client sessions. And I do 90-minute brand therapy sessions. And before, my brand therapy looked like me just meticulously taking notes and looking down and making sure that I was capturing everything. And my active listening skill set and effective listening in those sessions wasn't as peaked because I was doing the admin task of taking all of the notes furiously. Because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, right? Because that was how I delivered my brand guidebook, which I, being a perfectionist leader, could not be viewed as a failure. So I had to deliver these incredible brand guidebooks. But now that I have AI joining all of my calls and my sessions, whether I'm live with this person in a coffee shop and I hit record, whatever that looks like, I know I'm going to get the full transcript of notes. So I don't take any notes in my session anymore. I just have my questions that I use to probe and then the therapy work and the process of how I dig deeper in each thing. And I engage in the conversation, and my effective listening is 1,000% better with the support of AI tools that I use as an admin feature as a part of my work. So I actually can go back and trust that AI will have summarized everything, and I have the full transcript that I can copy and paste into the notes, and I can do a search and find for specific concepts. I can even use AI later in that recording to go ahead and pull concepts for me. I used to spend 6 to 8 hours producing these brand guidebooks for clients after we did 3 or 5 brand therapy sessions. And I was charging for that because it was my time.
Yeah.
And now that I've used some AI tools to support and assist and bundle all, 41 pages of session notes sometimes from these therapy sessions, and then I can specifically prompt my AI to pull what I need to produce these brand guidebooks from my client's brain and from the notes in our session. So it's very much a guided pulling of information and collecting of information. Now my brand guidebooks take me 1 to 2 hours. And so I've been able to lessen the cost and the time frame that I'm delivering these results to my client for them to be effective. So this is where I think the fear, we're back to fear, when there is a new technology in the space that is blowing up, it's chaotic, as you say. The computer was chaotic. It was, how do we use this? How do we learn to trust it? And how do we gain, comfort in that using of it, which a lot of leadership didn't. Because if they thought, well, I don't know how to use this, I feel dumb,
Hmm.
I'm not going to go ahead and try in front of my team and they'll look like an idiot because I don't want to look like a failure. AI is very similar. A lot of leadership has fear around AI because we just don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of dysregulation. There's just no really moral regulation around what AI is being used for, including, the space of altering humans, of making some human with their identity look like something else, being used in scenes or video or other places that they just didn't want to be represented, but they are without their permission. There's not a lot of law yet for consequences of misusing AI,
Hmm.
which is also a problem for the general public. So a lot of people
Yeah.
just want to shut it down. So you're thinking about the fear of AI and not understanding what it can do, and then using it in the wrong way, and then having that backlash. It should not be used to write a website. It should not be used to create the thing that a human mind needs to own, right? But it can be used to support the admin tasks and function and the actual manual labor of getting those thoughts and those foundations and strategies to wherever you need it to go. So you can use it to write website copy if it's coming from a conversation from a human mind, in my opinion, because it's just going to collect and organize those thoughts, right? And maybe add some hook and add some element that it can go scour the world of the internet to understand the process of how to do that and how to formulate that.
Hmm.
But that's kind of how we use AI in my companies. In fact, AI was the sole meaning of me being able to create my second company this year with co-founders called 10 to Launch.
Okay.
And 10 to Launch is literally delivering fully loaded brand packages,
Uh-huh.
content, strategy, guidebook, marketing, language, all of the creative assets, logos, design elements, and then a fully custom 5-page website in 10 days. This was something I've been wanting to create for 2 years. And there's brand in a day, brand in a week. I was starting to research the global products out there that would compete. And I finally created my company 10 to Launch because I realized I needed to use a lot of these AI automations on the back end to deliver that. So it's no longer at the slow of people, which Fix and Form is a 3 to 4 month branding experience for that kind of project that's more human touch, partnering, consulting, and that still needs to exist. 10 to Launch, my second company, is about using automations and AI tools to not create the things necessarily. Those are still created from conversation of humans and strategy. But when we use the automations with our CTO, Roger, who's brilliant, he actually owns a company that does AI consulting and he teaches AI in the workplace with companies large and small. So when I met him, I knew this was the kind of partner I needed to bring my concept to life because we needed tech, that internal brand culture we were talking about. I needed AI tools and tech and, literally a data scientist to come in and put together the technical elements that allowed our human creative process to bring to life in such a short period of time.
And like that's actually great. Congratulations. Like you have smartly utilized AI and created your another brand which is helping you in the internal branding process. That's really great.
Thank you.
And so as we are talking about the AI and branding strategies, have you seen the AI models who are now becoming the influencers and the people who are managing those profiles are leveraging their popularity and creating like creating great money out of it. So do you think this is going to help the brands, or do you think this is just a form of entertainment?
It's a great question. I don't really have an opinion on that. I don't think I know enough about it to say yay or nay. And I don't know that I want to interject a personal opinion there, because I think that there could be some great use cases for brands using that. And there could also be some harm done with the human touch and lack of it for brands using that. So I'd say I'm going to stay neutral.
All right. And just moving ahead, I just want to know what kind of opportunities do we have right now? And if we tap in, let's say in next, let's say this is the 2026 now. So what should be the early thing to approach now and get into the market and earn some good money with some good values, which will provide good solution to the brands who actually want some great solutions. So what could be that?
So, wrapping a bow on all of this, and this is probably the last question I have time for, just heads up.
Yeah.
I would say wrapping a nice and neat bow on all of this concept that we've been talking about. If I were to go into 2026 with something that would help companies, it would actually be finding a really solid group of AI consultants and AI strategists who understand it on a human level and who can train and teach people how to use it at the most basic level. That's what I did. I invested with actually my co-founder, Roger, a couple of years ago when I realized what he knew and I wanted to know that. And I still, with my knowledge, am far behind how you can use AI at this point. But I know that there's room to grow always, but it lessened my fear. It lessened the way I engage with it, and it allowed it to be an approachable tool for me that wasn't taking people's jobs, that wasn't, creating this chaos in the workplace. So for me, I would actually, if I was going to do something in 2026, I would probably put money behind some type of an AI training or AI course or AI school or AI, webinar, and finding those AI consultants and geniuses who really understand all of it, who can train you and your team to use it properly and effectively, especially the leadership in the company, so that you don't have the fear and you can start getting on board and feeling like you can make some progress with it.
Well, that's really bold and that's really straightforward for all the viewers and our audience that this is the high time. Get the AI into practice. Allow AI to help you out, not to replace your process. Your mundane task should be handled by AI, and you should be the one who is strategizing the thing, who's thinking, who is the think tank behind
Yes,
the process, who is thinking behind the success. It's just that AI will assist you and guide you or save your time on mundane tasks so that you can think creative enough to grow.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so on that note, we can conclude that branding is getting tough. It is a bit chaotic, not very much, a bit chaotic from the point from the standpoint where we see that if you are smart enough to handle the process and smart enough to utilize tools correctly with the right people, then you're going to crack the code and you'll be the king of the market, queen of the market, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anne, for your time. Actually, I know you were running out of time. We had time constraint, and still you gave us double the time you have given us. So thank you so much for that lovely and deep conversation. I
Thank
hope
you. I really appreciated the conversation. Thank you.
so, guys. That was Anne and her experience and knowledge of branding. She is not just any random brand strategist, she is one of the brand therapists who helps every client reach the potential clients, the end users, the customers who makes value. It is not just about profits. And if you have learned anything valuable from this podcast, please do let us know in the comment section. And also, please inform us if you have any suggestion for us, because suggestions always makes us better. So thank you for watching this podcast till the end, and you may have a great day.